Hey everyone, welcome. My name is Lauren. Today I'm going to be sharing the differences between Abeka's Arithmetic K5 versus Simply Good and Beautiful Level K. This is going to be a part of a two-part series. I'm going to be showing Level K today, but if you have one who's a little bit older, I am going to be sharing Abeka second grade and the Good and the Beautiful Level 2. So make sure you stay tuned for that video if you want to see what the second grade looks like. So let's point out some key differences. Abeka is very traditional. You will find this approach more of in a school setting. They are written for Christian schools and have been around since the 1970s. It is a very straight and to the point approach. It uses a lot of repetition and it uses a spiral approach to build the skills upon each other, builds in lots of review. So Abeka will definitely be more of a traditional school-like program. The Good and the Beautiful is more of a Charlotte Mason approach where it will incorporate stories into the lesson to give real life examples of how to teach different math concepts. Now, in the old level of the Good and the Beautiful, the lessons and the stories were quite long, and there were some complaints from customers that it was just too long. They have condensed the stories in the new Simply Good and Beautiful math. However, the stories are still there, even though they are much shorter and much simpler. Neither of these are going to be Common Core, particularly Abeka. They are going to be very old school when it comes to math. The Good and the Beautiful, although it does not have Common Core, it does have conceptual math and math theory in it, which basically means that they are showing the reason why a math problem is done a certain way. And they're going to be doing that with each and every single math concept that they teach. And it may seem more like work up front, but I think it pays off so much more in the end, because again, the child is seeing the why behind it rather than just this is how you do it, this is why and how you do it. So both of them have a spiral approach versus a mastery approach. Mastery would just say we're going to take one chapter and only learn about time, and we will only do problems about time and telling time and nothing else. We won't focus on anything else. Then the next chapter will be about temperature and only temperature. And then the next chapter will be about graphs and so on and so forth. With a spiral approach, they will take just a few lessons and they will teach the subject, but then they will continue to review what they have learned in the past so that they are constantly reviewing the whole year rather than just focusing on something for a small amount of time and then they don't come back to it for the rest of the year. They will be continually working on that. So if your child needs a more mastery approach, I don't think either Abeka or the Good and the Beautiful will be a good fit. However, if you feel like spiral is good and they need that review, then I think either of these might work for you. Another difference is that the Good and the Beautiful, their teacher guide and student book and everything is all in one book. This is all you need, is just this one book. If you have this, you can do everything that you need. This and the little manipulative box that it comes with, then you will be all set to go. With Abeka, depending on how you do it, there's so many different ways that you can make Abeka work for you. Depending on, you can go very detailed and large and grand and have lots and lots of manipulatives and lots of the charts and everything like that, or you can just go straight to the point and just have the workbook. But if you are wanting lesson plans, they are going to be separate, and I'll show you what those lesson plans look like in just a second. A similarity is that they are both bright and colorful. They use lots of illustrations, albeit they are different styles. They do have bright, colorful pages that I think are really great for children who enjoy that type of learning. If your child will be distracted by that or just went straight to the point, doesn't mind if they have black and white, then maybe something more like Saxon would be a better fit for your child. So let's talk about something else. Price, right? Most of us are on a budget and don't want to be spending thousands and thousands of dollars a year on books for our children. I totally understand. So let's break down what the price looks like for both the Good and the Beautiful and Abeka. Now, Abeka can get its reputation for being very pricey, very expensive, and I totally understand that. It can add up very quickly, but you can definitely, absolutely 100% do Abeka very on budget. You do not have to spend hundreds and hundreds of dollars just for a math for one child. You can do it in a streamlined way and it will still be very effective. Here we have the Math K course set. It's about $50. You can actually buy the items individually, the math box and the course book itself. And you can also buy a digital download of the course book for $24. Although it is just a little bit cheaper, you are going to have to print it out yourself. However, you will have the PDF for future children if you want to use this over and over again. There's also a few recommended resources, Anteater Edition and Snowy Owl Subtraction. We don't have either of those, but they look pretty cool to add if you want to do that. Now we are at Abeka. You can see all of the different extras that they have, the learning games and the charts, and you can see that there's many options to choose from as far as extras and manipulatives go. And I will show you in just a second which ones you need and which ones you can get away with not having. But you can see how it can kind of be overwhelming if you're just looking at the website and how quickly it can add up and it can become very pricey. I would recommend getting used when possible. If you do want to get the lesson plans, again, they can be a little bit pricey, but if you get them secondhand, you can get a great deal. So that was the overview of each, and now let's get into what the lessons look like. We're going to start off with the Simply Good and Beautiful Math K. Here is the manipulatives you will be using. So it is some race cars, some counting sticks, a few game pawns, and then some dice. This is a 7 to 12 dice. This is a 1 to 6 dice. And then some addition, equal, subtraction. That is it for manipulatives. They will not be used every single lesson, but they will be used in most of the lessons. They're going to give you the supplies needed as well as the organization. So it has 120 lessons divided into 3 units. So if you did 4 of these a week, 4 lessons a week, it would be about 30 weeks. Which gives you some wiggle room within a typical school year, which is normally 36 weeks. Gives you some margin in case, there's sickness or you just want to take some extra time off. I'm going to kind of do just a quick flip through so that you can get an idea, and then I will break down a lesson so that you can see that up close. But here, the the lessons are all titled so you can see what they're going to be working with. This is a little bit of a review, and then this is where the instruction comes in. Here is the first assessment. Now, the assessment is going to have the top purple part is going to be what they're going to be doing the first day. Okay, and if they get everything right, then they can move on to this next unit. However, if there's things that they need to correct in any of these sections, this is where that orange part comes in and they can work on it and have additional practice before they move on. So here is where I want to show the lesson. We are going to do, so most of the lessons are 2 pages. This is a very typical lesson, so I'm going to do a close-up so we can see how the lesson works. Okay, so it says counting by 10. Have the child write 10 tally marks on the whiteboard. Now, sometimes we use a whiteboard. Sometimes we just go in the margin. So that's what we did today. She did her 10 tally marks. Write 16, 17, and 18 on the board. She did that. They do give in the instructions in one of the earlier lessons that if the child has mastered these, then they don't really need to continue to do it. But we just do these anyway, just for some additional practice. So you're going to read to the child. The black part is the lesson or what you're going to be saying out loud. It says, skip counting means we count by a number other than 1. In the last lesson, we practiced skip counting by tens. On the 100 chart, color in every 10 spaces with a yellow crayon or colored pencil. Hint, they're all the last column. Then point to the colored squares and skip count by tens from 10 to 100 2 times. So she did that. And then here is another activity that they will practice for counting by tens. Now, again, in the old version of The Good and the Beautiful, they did stories that were a little bit longer. Sometimes they would take up the whole page. And so they still incorporate the stories. And I do like that aspect because it just gives it a another dimension rather than, it's kind of two-dimensional when they're just doing, charts and things like that. This brings it a little bit more to life, allows the children to use their imaginations a little bit more and see real-life examples of math. So it says that Jacob loves to skip stones on the wide river by his house. If he throws a flat stone the right way, he can get it to skip across the river. The most skips he has ever done is 6. Skip count by tens to find the path that Jacob's rock follows as it skips across the pond. Point to each spot where the stone skipped across the water and say the number. You're going to start on 10 and go up to 60. So they would do this, and it says do this 3 times. You could do it once, twice, 3 times, it's kind of up to you. But so that's just another simple activity that they would do to cement those lessons that they have just learned. All right, and then now, again, this is all going to be part of the lesson. This is a logic part. They do incorporate not only, addition and subtraction and things like that, but they also add in logic as well, which I really like. So it says, have the child color the triangles in each image of a different color, then count the number of triangles and write them in the box. So here she did that. She didn't color those in because those aren't triangles, and then she had to count how many was in there. This is a number puzzle. So these groups of numbers are taken from the hundreds chart, but they're all out of order. Order them correctly by putting the numbers 1, 2, and 3. So she has to look through these and say, okay, what would go first? Oh, 1 to 6, that would go first. And then what would come after that? So she had to order that. I don't really know what she did with adding those numbers on the top. I'm not sure about that, but that's how that would work. So that would be an entire lesson. Sometimes these lessons take, most of the time they're going to average around 10 minutes. Sometimes they may take 5 minutes. Sometimes they may take 15 minutes. And it's really also going to depend on your child as well. But you're not going to be sitting here for an hour doing math. They're going to be pretty straightforward and to the point. There's not really independent work at this point. You're going to be doing the entire lesson with your child. But again, you're not going to be here for an hour. So I don't think it's too overwhelming. Now I'm going to go and do some more flip through so that you can see what they're going to be learning for the rest of the course. So we're nearing the end. They have just done some measurement. They're doing graphing. They're doing addition, subtraction. They are doing measurement. They're working with volumes of liquid. They're doing time. They're doing months of the year. They have done, at this point, the penny, the nickel, and the dime. So you can see the variety of exercises they're doing. They're doing 2D shapes, 3D shapes. So here is the Unit 3 assessment. And so there's always going to be an oral section that they have to do. Ordinal numbers, telling time to the hour. Subtraction, 2D, 3D shapes. Evens and odds, comparing volumes of liquid. Addition, it looks like up to 20, but I don't think they're doing big numbers like 8 plus 7. I think it's simple things such as 19 plus 0, 17 plus 1, 16, or 17 plus 0, 16 plus 1, and then some of these smaller numbers is what they are doing. Counting by 2s, they are obviously counting by 10s as we just saw, and I believe they're counting by 5s at this point. One more and one less, and then that is the end. So you can see there is built-in review. This is, again, a spiral approach. So they aren't just going to be working on one specific thing for a given amount of time. They are going to be working on one thing, and then the next lesson will cover something else, but they will always go back and review so that the child has plenty of practice. Now we're getting to Abeka. And there's 2 ways to go about doing Abeka math. So there is a very simple and basic way, or there is a more comprehensive way. And I'm going to show how you can do both. I'm going to show the basic way first. So here we have Abeka K5. I'm going to go to the back so I can show you very quickly. This has about 148 pages. So if you did a page a day, it would be 148. Plus they have a few They have a few in the back, a few like practice pages. So technically 164. That's almost a full year. So if you did 1 page a day, that would give you about 33 weeks worth of material. But you could also switch it up and do maybe 2 pages a day, or 2 pages 3 times a week, 2 to 3 times a week. You can kind of make this however you want. But I do want to just show you that it starts off very slowly as well, and then it's going to build. So just like the Good and the Beautiful, it is very colorful. The graphics, the illustrations look a little bit different, but it's still colorful nonetheless. And it is spiral, just like the Good and the Beautiful. So you can see it's going to be doing different activities every single day. So you can get an idea. And then I'm just going to do a flip through like I did with the other one, so that way you can see what is all involved. So this is about where we've stopped. We've stopped around. This is actually where she left off. And I do want to say that, so we supplement, we do the Good and the Beautiful for our main math, and then she just does 1 page a day of this. And so she's, they actually have done really well. They work hand in hand really, really well. They are covering a lot of the same material. This Simply Good and Beautiful Math, it is actually pretty on point, and they are, they synchronize actually pretty well. So she is doing addition like this with the Good and the Beautiful. She's doing before and after. She is telling time to the hour. And then she, again, is addition. She has learned money, counting by tens. So they actually really work well together and complement each other very, very well. So I'm going to kind of go towards the end so that you can just see what they will be learning at the end of the year, just like I did with the Good and the Beautiful. So you can see how they compare, not only at the beginning and middle of the year, but to the end of the year as well. So here we have before and after these larger numbers. I think they learn number recognition up to 100 in Abeka. Still some simple addition, just like you saw with the Good and the Beautiful. What time it is. Counting by tens, we did that with them. Now this is place value numbers, so they have learned the penny, the nickel, the dime. Looks like they've learned the quarter with Abeka. They are doing some story problems. They have that with the Good and the Beautiful as well. And then it looks like they're telling time to the quarter hour. Yes. So the Good and the Beautiful is just doing it to the hour. This is doing 15 and 30, 45, etc. But overall, they have measurement with Abeka. They are learning they're not learning fractions, but just like what half looks like. They have calendar work. So they are very actually at this level for K5 versus level K, they are actually very, very on point. They are learning very similar things, which I think is pretty interesting because Abeka is known for being advanced for their math. So at this level, the kindergarten level, the Good and the Beautiful is on par with Abeka. It's not so much when they get to level 2 or, level 1, level 2, level 3. And again, I will do that in a separate video. But at this point, they are pretty much on equal level playing fields. So this is what the number skills look like. You could just do this and you would be fine. I think at this level, at the kindergarten level, it's pretty basic and simple. I feel like you'd be fine to do this on your own. But if you do want a little bit more instruction, I'm going to show you the lesson plans right now. So I'm going to get into a lesson, but I do want to show you exactly what they are requiring you to need for so you're, in case, like I just showed you a few minutes ago, all the extras, it says that you will need the number charts and games. So it's those. You will need the concept, this is just highly recommended, the concept flashcards. So it's those. Addition cards are optional. And then the numbers flashcards are optional. So it's those up to 200. And then the basic concept cards are optional. So these are optional. So if you just get the ones that they do recommend and highly recommend, those two. And then when you see those parts, if you're like, no, that's just too much for me, I don't need all of that, I just want to keep it basic, since they are optional and you see those, you can honestly just skip those parts of the lesson. I think you would still be able to do the lesson. You have to keep in mind that this is written for a classroom. So this is up to kind of like the teacher's discretion, what the teacher uses. I guarantee you the teacher is, while the teacher may have all of these, I promise you the teacher is not using all of these every single day for every lesson. I think you can pick and choose what you think will be, will work best. So I would definitely, if I was doing this, I would get the charts and games and the number concepts flashcards, maybe one other one, but I really don't even know. I probably would just stick with what they recommend and just skip out on the optionals. So again, I just want to point out that I do not use these for her math. I use them for her language arts, but I don't use these lesson plans for her math. We just do the approach of, since she's already doing a full curriculum with the good and the beautiful, I just give her a page of the number skills and they complement each other very well. But if you want Abeka to be your main math and you want to use the lesson plans, I'm going to show you what it looks like. So you're going to have to get these lesson plans. Whether you use them for the language arts and all of this other stuff, that's totally up to you. But they are going to be combined. There isn't just a separate math lesson plan. This book can be quite pricey. I bought it secondhand, which I'm grateful that I did. I try to buy as many of the Abeka non-consumable things secondhand. I wanted to give a comparable lesson, so I chose counting by tens, so we are going to do counting by tens in this lesson today. So here you go. It gives the lesson number 67. Here is the material that you need: 100 straws. Leave 30 straws unbundled and place rubber bands around 7 groups of 10. Save for future lessons. You need several rubber bands. You need the skills sheet, just what I showed you, that workbook. And then the visuals, you'll need the number flashcards and the dot cards. Now, these are some of those manipulatives that I was just showing you before. Again, there's those charts that you can feel free to get as many or as, not many as you want. I'm going to let you know, I don't ever use these, so I am not super familiar with these lesson plans and what all these cards are and all of that. But I did just want to point it out that this is what a lesson looks like. And so it says number flashcards, review number recognition. So it's those number flashcards, selected numbers. I'm honestly not quite sure what that means. I think if numbers that maybe your child needs work on recognizing, I really don't know. Count by 10, straws. Have child count straws counting by ones. When he has counted 10 straws, put a rubber band around that group of straws and continue counting by ones to 20. Put a rubber band around the second group of 10 straws and continue counting by ones to 30. Put a rubber band around this third group of straws. And then I would say out loud, because I do know that the bold is everything that you say out loud. It says, because there are 10 straws in each of these groups, we can count them more quickly if we count by tens. Give the child 10 groups of straws, count by tens to 100. As he places straws on the table, repeat having him count with you. So I do actually like that this is very hands-on. I like that approach. And that is something that you would be missing if you just do the book. You're kind of missing the instruction of how to teach it. Like, you could teach your child, but I really like that they can see this visually and that they can see what that actually looks like, of what the group of 10 looks like and why you count by tens. So I will say, I actually do like that. Okay, dot cards, 2 plus 0. So these are going to be those dot cards. You're going to have just 2 of them. Write the combination as the child tells the number of dots in each square. So this is just some addition review. Dot cards 1 plus 1. So this is just adding. Instead of just adding 0 plus 2, they're seeing the actual dots so that they see what those dots represent. 0 dots plus 2 dots equals 2 dots. And then have him read all 3 combinations from the board in the paper. We call these combinations the 2 addition family because each answer is 2. So those are the combinations. 2 plus 0 equals 2, 0 plus 2. So he or she would just read it out loud. And then that would be it. That would be the lesson. So again, these lessons actually aren't very long at all. The application is the number skill page 53. So you would do a corresponding page for that. And you can either have your child do that page independently or you could do that with your child. And I do want to say that not every single day they will have a page in this. There's going to be days where they skip pages and they just have the instruction. They're not going to have a page. So you don't have, these aren't every single day. So the instructions, so page 53 we have here. Again, this is ordinal numbers. Fill in the dot under the 5th bale of hay from the left. Do some addition. Those are those dots that I was just showing you. And so that way they're having some more practice with that. Trace and write. I like that they have them practice their numbers. And then how many cents is this? And that would be the page. So again, these take my daughter maybe 3 minutes to do. That doesn't take her very long at all. And that would be it. That would be a lesson. So if you don't mind having a few of those cards, like the flash cards and the dot cards, and handling that, if you feel like you've got that underway, these lessons actually really don't take very long at all. I hope you found this to be helpful. Again, these are both very, very solid and strong programs. I don't think you could go wrong either way. I think both of them will do the job. One may work better for you and your child than another, but I think that you can't go wrong, and either one will give your child a very solid math foundation. I know Abeka can be a little bit overwhelming, but it doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be very daunting. You can definitely make things your own and geared towards your child and pare down and find what works for you and what doesn't. I have only used The Good and the Beautiful as our core curriculum. That's what we use as our main math. And then I just supplement Abeka. I just supplement the worksheets with my daughters. They do 1 page a day, and all of them have done Abeka supplementing for the last several years, and it works really well. So that way we do both of them. The Good and the Beautiful, I like the way they teach, and I like their approach. But with Abeka, I really, really enjoy the worksheets because it builds in a lot of that review that I feel like maybe The Good and the Beautiful is lacking a little bit. So I feel like the two work together very, very well. So that may be something that you want to consider as well. So we've been homeschooling for 4 years, and since the beginning, we have used Abeka and The Good and the Beautiful for our core subjects, our math and language arts, in one form or another. So I have a lot of content here on my channel for Abeka and The Good and the Beautiful. So if you are interested in either of those, I have 2 playlists, an Abeka playlist and The Good and the Beautiful, and you can check those out down below so that you can get a better idea. So if there's any questions or if you have any suggestions for further videos, please leave them down below. I would love to see that. Thanks again for watching. If you like this type of homeschool content, please make sure you stick around and subscribe, because I love to share a lot of in-depth flip-throughs and reviews and comparisons. So if that is something that you're interested in, please make sure you subscribe to my channel. If this video was helpful, please hit that like button. You can also find me on Instagram over at The Practical Homeschooler, just like here. Thanks again so much. I hope you have the best day, and until next time, I'll see you later.